What's up, guys? Horror Man back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin Casey Jones figure. Now this is made by NECA Toys and it's part of their ongoing line of Ultimate figures based on The Last Ronin. Now just taking a look at the box here, you do get a really cool image of Casey with his really trusty hockey stick, and he's got this big old sledgehammer. You got that fiery background, really cool looking, and all the art's done by Ben Bishop. And then if you go over to the side, you get a really cool picture of Casey with the fire kind of like around him, and then you can see a hand with a sword. That is there because you can actually connect all these boxes to the other Last Ronin figures to make this really cool scene. And then on the other side, you just get the classic Last Ronin image. Says Casey Jones and number 9, followed by all the Ninja Turtles logos. And then finally, over to the back, you get Casey, the figure, and you get a bunch of different pictures of him. Get the Last Ronin image here, and a bit of a read-up of the Last Ronin comic. Of course, you get the NECA logo also. And then over to the top, you just get the logos. Over to the bottom, you get the UPC and all the different credits. Just like all the other NECA boxes, you do get a really nice opening flap here. Get a really nice clear image of the figure inside with all the different accessories. And then also a really cool image of the figure itself. Of course, you always get the hanger in case you want to hang on the wall. So pretty cool looking box. Let's go ahead and get this figure outside of that box and have a closer look. Alright, so here he is outside of the packaging. Now you usually get different backgrounds with NECA figures, but this one you really just get this red with kind of like dots and maybe blood splatter or something. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the head sculpts first, take a look at the accessories and any other interchangeable parts that you get with this, do some comparisons, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Not going to be doing too much with this figure because I really don't collect much of the Last Ronin line, so unfortunately I won't have a lot of size comparisons for you in regards to that, but I will do some comparisons with other Ninja Turtles figures made by NECA and some other companies. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the masked head sculpt. So taking a look at the first head sculpt, and this is the one that's on him inside of the box, you get a really good looking hockey mask in my opinion. It's a bit of like a mesh of maybe the 1990 movie and the 87 cartoon, and to me those are the best hockey masks for Casey Jones, of course. But I really like the line work, just outlining like those different, like the nose and eyebrows and just like the lines in between. I just really like how they outline them with the black line work. The holes are like the lines like in the mouth, like the breathing holes look really good. They're all nice and dark and the lines look really good. So just really happy with how this hockey mask looks. And then over to the side, again, just a really cool shape to the mask. It almost has like little nods to like the CGI movie, if you remember that, Casey Jones, which had a little bit more like of this shape, kind of like in the lower part, like of the jaw. So it kind of shows his face a little bit more. But yeah, I really like that. Just overall, just awesome design to this hockey mask. And then over to the other side, again, just really nice black line work, and you can even see a few lines on like the lower part of that mask. And I like how you can see like the stubble on his face. It's even the same type of lines, which just looks really cool. And then over to the back, you can just see some nice texture in the hair. And then of course you can see the single strap on the hockey mask going around his whole head there. So again, nice details. Now, as good as the details are in this, and it is very comic accurate, so I applaud NECA for making it look so much like the comics. I mean, it looked like he jumped right off the Last Ronin comic. There is some things I kind of wish they had changed about this one. One of the biggest ones is the strap on the hockey mask. It's really hard to see. The old 87 cartoon, he had like a red strap for the hockey mask, and then the movie one, like you could see the strap separate from the hair, but this one really looks like the hair. Just my own personal criticism, I absolutely hate the short hair on this figure. Absolutely hate it. To me, he just doesn't look like Casey Jones. He looks like that Michael Bay movie version of Casey Jones. So that's just my own personal criticism. It's not to knock the figure. It's mainly to knock the design choice for Casey Jones. But yeah, man, I mean, it's such a cool looking hockey mask. I really wish he had the longer hair. Now you do get an alternate head with this figure, which is basically going to give you the unmasked version of Casey, which, oof. It looks a little rough, and I've seen many people make comparisons with this one. The one thing that is cool is that you do get a hockey mask that you can actually like put on top of his head. So if you want to do that classic kind of just a mask on the very top, you could do that. And then also if you want to like see his eyes behind the mask will actually fit on that head sculpt. So yeah, it's cool. You actually do, for the first time, get a removable hockey mask with a Casey Jones NECA figure. So I really do like that. And then to interchange this head sculpt, you're just going to pop this head sculpt off. Pretty easy, standard peg that you're used to. And then pop this new one on. And then you have the ugly Casey Jones. Now, as cool as it is to have that removable mask, I don't really want to remove it. It's almost like Jason, like, you know, under the mask, he's just scary. But yeah, he's got this weird like eyebrow thing going on, so it looks like he almost had an eyebrow piercing in the 90s that he took out, so now he can't grow his eyebrow right. But he's got some cool like kind of scratches on his face. I do think they did a really nice job with that. Very thin line work, which is excellent. Just really like that a lot. But he's got this really bad expression. Like he just looks like he's out of breath. He's like kind of almost like bloated or something, you know? And then he's got this kind of Neanderthal type of head, forehead. But yeah, I just really don't like the look on his face. And that's one thing that NECA just can't seem to get right with these comic versions of Casey Jones. And as much as I knock this one, it's not like the Mirage Comics version was any better. I mean, that was a pretty ugly looking Casey too. So, but yeah, overall, not a fan of this head sculpt. And then here he is rocking that mask. Again, it is removable, so if you want, you can kind of like put it on top of his head or get a little creative with it. So again, very cool that you can actually remove his mask. I wish they did that with some of the other Casey Jones, but sometimes it's a little bit harder with the straps. But this one in particular has the single strap, so it works a little bit better. So taking a look at the torso here, we have seen this look before in a way, especially with that catcher's kind of padding or armor. Definitely seen that, even back as far as Mirage, we've seen that before. So it's not like he hasn't worn it, it's just not very common. But I do like the line work around it. It kind of resembles almost like a tunic, like some kind of martial arts kind of inspiration here with the padding on the sides and then just the way it's done. So I do think it's very creative. And it doesn't look bad at all. And then the armor pad kind of has that like a little bit more futuristic look than like the standard just hockey gear, so I do like that. And I absolutely love the arm wraps. That's a very Ben Bishop thing. It's very welcome in my opinion. I absolutely love it. Very Daredevil inspired, which Turtles is obviously heavily inspired by Daredevil. And he's just got this kind of like a green shirt underneath of it, which looks pretty good, and you can see the different straps for the armor. So overall, really nice details. I love the little pockets and the padding. Nice line work in the musculature. Over to the back, very interesting design. You do have some holsters, it looks like, and then you can see the back of the armor or like the padding, which looks really nice. And then taking a look at the pants, pretty basic looking, but you do get some nice wrinkling in there, as usual with NECA. Nice line work and details. I like how the bottom of the pants kind of go over the shoes a little bit. I don't think these are boots. They just look like regular dress shoes. You do have two peg holes on the bottom of the feet. But yeah, they basically just look like dress shoes to me. I mean, I don't know if they're supposed to be hiking boots or what. Alright, so taking a look at the articulation for Casey here, his head sculpt turns really good. You can get some nice expression behind that mask, which is really cool. And he can look down really good and look up just as good. So, really nice articulation in that head sculpt. The shoulder pad gets in the way a little bit from doing that full T-pose, mainly on this left arm, but it really doesn't get in the way too much. I just don't want to flex it much more than that. You can rotate the arm as well at that muscle, the bicep. Really nice elbow articulation. It doesn't look the best, honestly, because he has the bare arms, but really good elbow articulation. I mean, it's just great poses out of this Casey Jones. Very happy with that. You can get a twist, and then he can kind of angle his body a little bit. Kind of has like a Ninja Turtle problem here, like almost like with the shell, because of all this armor. You can't get as much articulation, but you can still bend forward and back. Definitely do a split. Leg goes up about that far. Can kind of do a good kick. Got the double hinged, or got the double hinged knees here. I can twist at the thigh. Feet can go down a little bit. Go up a little bit. Got a bit of a rocker on there. So not too bad. So articulation is really good on this guy, in all honesty. I mean, the torso is a little bit restrictive, but it's not really that surprising considering the armor that he has, that like kind of catcher's gear. But overall, pretty good. Now you do get some interchangeable parts with Casey. We've already kind of talked about the masked head sculpt, and this mask is not removable. Again, it has the whited out eyes. And you do get some interchangeable hands. Now he comes with these fisted hands on him inside of the box, and I do have one of those on him right now. But I also have him holding the hockey mask with one of the more stretched open hands. So you have the different gripping hands. You basically have a couple sets of gripping hands and then one extra one. Then you also get these relaxed hands, which are really cool, and they interchange just like all the other NECA figures. Very easy on this figure. Now, one thing to say about these NECA Casey Jones figures, they always come loaded with tons of accessories, and this Casey Jones is no exception. I mean, he's got a lot of different pieces. So just taking a look at how I have the mask here, I do have him with the gripping hand. It's a little bit more open, and he's not gripping the actual strap. He's just kind of gripping the top of the mask and just pressing it toward his thigh. So that's just kind of resting there. Now you do have a storage on his back, which is very interesting, and we'll kind of get back to that. But you can actually take that out, much like a G.I. Joe style backpack. It's got a little peg, and you can just take that out. Now, the traditional Casey Jones look is going to revolve around this bag, and it's a really nice design. It's very classic Casey Jones. Got the padding, got the pockets, pretty neutral looking. And you're going to want this to where the weapons are coming out on his left side. So probably best to take the head off. Get the arm out. Get that over the neck peg there. Does have a lot of armor. Not quite as easy to get on here as some of the other Casey Jones bags. You really have to kind of stretch it over that armor. And you can get it over that pad, or you can get it like underneath of it almost. So we'll see which works out better. And then, since he's getting all geared up, we'll go ahead and put his masked head sculpt on. So there he is with the bag, and I do think he looks pretty damn cool. Now, once you get the backpack on, you can go ahead and load him up with his accessories. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with these accessories. I love Casey Jones's weapons overall. I will say the cartoon's pretty much the most plain one, and for, good reasons. Pretty basic cartoon style weapons. But for the movie ones and the comic ones, they've always been really good. And I honestly think these might be arguably the best ones. Something about the line work in these is just exceptional. And I really love all the different wraps. Again, very Ben Bishop with all the wraps. Really love that. So you got the classic goalie stick, nice little cracks and line work all over that. Makes it look very kind of old and used. You do have the double baseball bats, of course, again with the grip going all on there. I'm always curious to see if all fit in here. Of course, you have his cricket bat, which is very 1990 movie, but really cool. I love the different wraps on here again. Very big bag, so all this stuff fits pretty good. Then, of course, you have the sledgehammer, which is more unique to the Last Ronin. And again, all grip, and you can fit that in there too. So all the accessories will fit just fine in that golf bag. Here he is holding a couple of those weapons. So you have him with his sledgehammer, which is again something he definitely uses in the Last Ronin. Here he is with his classic hockey stick. And just like with the sledgehammer, you can see how I have two gripping hands giving him that double-handed pose, which looks very cool. Here he is with his trusty cricket bat. And then here he is with the baseball bat. So you can have him with one kind of in his golf bag, and then one could just be, you know, with the two-handed pose, which looks really cool. Or you could display him with both bats, having that kind of crossed bat pose, which is pretty cool and intimidating. I also use the tighter gripping hands for this pose, just to let you know. So those work a little bit better with the baseball bats. Now, sticking with the baseball bats, there's one other really cool thing you could do for the bat specifically. So getting back to taking off that golf bag and having this extra, like I said, kind of like a G.I. Joe style backpack. You can see that line right there. There is a peg hole, and then you do have the peg in that backpack. So go and just plug that right in there. And again, I am using the tighter gripping hands for these baseball bats. So there's a couple ways you could probably put these in, but from what I've seen, they kind of, and it might be easier to just do this with this off. I've seen people just kind of put these in the bottom. I was wondering if you could put them in the top also. Yeah, you definitely could do that. So you could do it, you know, kind of interesting if you want to put them in the top like that, or you could just put them in just like that. And then once you have them in there correctly, just peg it in, and then you have that kind of unique storage for Casey Jones. Now you can't really see the bats from the front view if you do like put them in just like this. So if you put them in the opposite direction, I'm sure you can see them a little bit more if you want to see the bats behind them. Obviously you're not going to be able to use this bag, but if you have the two bats stored, you could put like the hockey stick in his hand or the sledgehammer, so you can't store everything on them with that different backpack, but it's really cool. I mean, it's definitely unique to this Casey Jones. For the first comparison, here he is next to some of the other comic version of Ninja Turtles. Like I said, unfortunately I don't have much Last Ronin figures, so I don't really have anything to do comparisons with for Last Ronin. But this is the Mirage Casey, Mirage Raph, which is that Jim Lawson style, and then the Mirage Shredder. This is the battle damage Shredder. But I do think these scale really well with each other. This Casey is a little bit taller, but for the most part, they look pretty good next to each other. For the next comparison, here he is next to a couple other Casey Jones figures made by NECA Toys. So you have the 1990 Casey Jones that came with the Raph and trench coat. Then you have the unmasked Ultimate Casey Jones. And you can see that they're definitely much taller. For one more NECA comparison, here he is with the original Mirage Comics Raphael, and then also the Friday the 13th Part 3 Jason Voorhees with a custom freak hockey mask. And you can see just how tall they are next to each other. Here he is with the Super 7 Casey Jones, and that's based off that vintage action figure. And then also the 1987 Toon version of Casey, which is from that old animated series, and that's made by NECA Toys. And these guys aren't too far off. This Casey's a little bit shorter, and this one's a little bit taller, so he's kind of in between them both. Here he is with a Marvel Legends Steve Rogers from the MCU, aka Captain America, and then also Eddie Munson from the Stranger Things series, and I believe that's made by Bandai. Now, one thing cool about this Steve Rogers is this hockey mask will actually fit on him. So if you want a Steve Rogers Casey Jones, you could definitely have that, which is pretty cool. Now, I actually was really hoping this hockey mask would fit on Eddie Munson because he really has that like 1990 Casey Jones kind of wardrobe. So you could definitely get it to fit, but you'd have to cut off the straps. Alright, and for the final comparison, here he is with the vintage Casey Jones figures. So you have the TMNT 3 Casey/Wit figure from the movie. Then you have the 1987 toon-based action figure, and then a 2003 Casey Jones figure. And obviously those are all much shorter than this, but it's really cool to see them all, next to each other. Alright, so that's my review of the Last Ronin Casey Jones made by NECA Toys. And overall, this is a pretty badass figure. I'll be the first to admit that there's some design choices I don't really like with this particular version of Casey Jones, but judging from like just the figure based on this comic, I think they've done a really good job. I mean, it definitely, like I said, it looks like he stepped right off the pages of The Last Ronin. So, and I think that's very important. Just looking at the box art, I mean, it really does capture what he looks like in the comics. So they definitely did a great job with that. One of the bigger flaws for me is definitely going to be the unmasked head sculpt. And it's not just to say like the design. Like I said, you can't really knock them for the design. They're making a figure based on what he looks like in this comic, so they got that right. However, they definitely could have gave him a better expression. He just doesn't have a very good expression on his face. So yeah, for the most part, I think this is definitely a pickup for anybody, especially if they like Casey Jones or Last Ronin. I really do like this little backpack inclusion. I can't say I'm going to use it, but I do like that option. So they gave us a huge load out of accessories plus something we've never seen with a Casey Jones figure before. So definitely an interesting design. It's unique, and I think it just packs all the same as any other Casey Jones that NECA makes. So like I said, I would definitely recommend this. I did get a little bit of paint chipping on this guy, but it's mainly just in those joints. They're just a little extra paint. So when you pull the hands out and interchange them, you might notice some of those flakes kind of blowing off in the wind. Something worth noting. So thanks for watching my review. If you liked it, go ahead and leave a like. If you have a comment or question, leave that in the comments section below. And until next time, guys, see ya.